So, hello everybody. Welcome back to Enseñarte. I have a very special interview today. I'm here with Bianca Pineda. Hey Bianca, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got started into music?
Hi everyone, my name is Bianca, and when I was 8, I became fascinated with EDM music through my older cousins who used to come to our home and use our computer because we had really fast internet back in those days. You know how it is. And they'd burn CDs for me, they'd search for music and teach me all about like the artists. Mainly, one of my biggest inspirations is Tiesto and Armin van Buuren. So they would always teach me those songs. They'd come out and they'd use MapQuest and print out their little directions to go to the little raves and clubs. And I used to become so fascinated with them when they would talk about, their outings and stuff. And I think that's what inspired me, a lot of who I am today.
All right, that's very interesting. I didn't know you're a big raver, huh? So, you and I met at a digital music production school, and that was a lot of fun. Do you play any instruments? I remember we both were learning piano kind of at the same time. Did you keep up with that? How's that been?
When I took that class, music production, it was mostly just so that I can learn to make the music match my visuals, because I am working on a film degree, film major. And through the process of experimenting with Logic, I became inspired. In the beginning, when he asked us to create like a little song, I didn't know how inspired I would be, and that kind of led one thing into another, and I realized, I could probably take like a music production certificate and see how that lands. But I ended up taking a few music production classes after that, and I'm getting a little handsy with the piano. But as a kid, I did use an accordion, and I freehanded get my own YouTube guitar lessons. And I signed up for piano lessons when I was like 16. I wasn't very inspired then, but I'm more inspired now.
Oh, wow. Accordion?
Yes.
Do you still play the accordion or not?
No, at all. I think it was like 7 or 8, and my mom was like, "Oh, they're having free classes," and they gave us each like a big accordion, and so I would go 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice.
So, I want to ask too, have you been to any good shows lately? And who did you see? Where did you go? What were the good points of that show?
I'm as I've said before, I'm really into kind of like the whole EDM scene right now. I know it's big. I know everybody's super into it, and it's so much fun meeting new people all the time. But right now, some of my biggest artists have been like either hardstyle artists or they've been like trance artists, and I kind of just go back and forth through them. In October, I went to go see a European hardstyle artist called Ruler, and I actually got to go into the meet and greet, and I got to know him firsthand. He was really fun. He gave us hugs, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for being here," which was very awesome. And then a couple months later, I bought tickets for Forever Midnight, and that would have been my 3rd time seeing Tiesto. I was so excited because I'd seen him twice already, but for some reason this time was a lot more special because he did play Lethal Industry, and I kind of just lost it. I cried in the middle of the set because I never thought that I would get to a point where it would come full circle in my music journey, where I started listening to Lethal Industry when I was like 8, and then by the time that I'm like now in my 30s, I'm like, wow, like it finally happened. It's the song that I never thought he'd ever play again.
That's actually really cool. So I would say I have been to a few like electronic shows, but I'm definitely being like kind of tiptoeing into the culture, and it's really nice that you went to a meet and greet. I've had a similar experience to where I've been able to meet artists firsthand and tell them like your work, your art means something to me. So that's really cool that even in other industries and other aspects and other genres, you could still do that. And I think that's very fun.
It's so incredibly inspiring in a way to like somebody like us that we like to work with, music, or we like to listen to music and we catalog and we put things together. For example, like your podcast, I love it so much. I love how you put all the music together because it gives me more things to kind of delve into. And I think that's the biggest part of being like somebody who works with music, is that we love to catalog and library all the shit out of everything. Ooh.
So thanks for telling us a little bit about more of yourself, your background, and like your introduction to music. So I'm going to transition a little. I want to talk more about culture. So has your cultural background influenced your music you made, music you listen to, and in what ways?
So right now I am a beginner and I'm just playing around with sounds and creating music. And especially right now that my film classes are taking up a huge chunk of my days and my work production, if that's the right way to say it. I'm definitely just kind of playing with like logic loops. I'm creating sounds using the piano, and I'm not fully there yet to immerse myself culturally, but I do think that at some point, like, I want to be able to sample things that we've heard and seen throughout our entire lifetimes as, like, growing up, especially in this heavily political issue that is going on. I want to delve so much more into who we are and our background. It's time to kind of bring that in the forefront
rather than like having it be suppressed. I know what you mean. It's important to, when things are kind of pushed against you, to have, say, you know what, okay, you could do that. I'm not going to give in to this, like, you're putting me through. I'm going to show you why we're here to do what we're going to do, and what makes us so awesome.
Yes, of course. In other words, I think it's like the best form to show resistance. Resistance comes in any form, even if it is music. And music itself is, what do they always say? Music is always political. Always political.
Exactly. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that we kind of just tiptoed around this answer, but I'm going to ask you this. So why do you think that so many artists today wear their heritage and upbringing with such pride? And do you think that's an important thing to do?
I'm going to choose my words carefully when I say this. I think it's such an admirable position to be taking under this heavy and hot political issues that are going on right now. It's important not only for our culture, but for our kids to hear resistance in that form, to see that their idols are taking a stance and saying, I care about my community, I care about my culture, and I'm going to make sure that even if I go down, everyone's going to hear my name and where I'm from.
And since we haven't kind of explicitly said, I did want to ask, what kind of culture did you grow up in? And like, what's your ethnic background, if you don't mind sharing?
Mexican. I am fully Mexican. My dad's side of the family is from Pachuca, Hidalgo, and my mom is from Cuernavaca, Morelos. And so sonido and cumbia is such a huge part of my culture. Well, for me speaking, because I know that in Mexico there are like different areas have like different types of music. But since we're more like central Mexico almost, it's kind of like that's what you mainly hear. And
that's like the epicenter?
The epicenter of it all, yeah. And in my dad's town, when he was really young, he would come to America and then go back, and he would take money with him. And every single year for Christmas, he and all his buddies in his colonia would, pitch in money, and they eventually would get a sonido that would come down there. So if anybody knows exactly what I'm talking about, we all know La Esquina Azul del Movimiento in Juárez. No Juárez, it's, Colonia Juárez. La Esquina Azul del Movimiento is literally right in front of my dad's house. Yes. It's a very huge party that happens for 3 weeks in December, right? And they have rides, festival rides, food. Everybody gives out food and everything, and people are dancing from nighttime till sun up. That's how huge the movement is.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks of music and 3 weeks of partying. That sounds like I gotta go.
They call them las posadas.
Thank you for sharing. That's really cool. I didn't know that. Personally speaking, like my mom, actually my parents are both from the same little pueblo, but they're from Guadalajara. But they're from a small little town. It's called Zapotlanejo.
Yeah, that's so funny. My dad's town is Zapotlan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, close enough.
Close enough.
We're cousins now.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I thank you for getting into that. And moving forward, I want to ask, have you noticed any trends in the music scene that you're in? For example, maybe changes of appreciation, changes of the audience. I know you said it's becoming more popular, the electronic and rave scene. Maybe the changes in attitude. What do you think about that?
When I started raving, I came out, I snuck out of my house, as we all do in high school. And I went with a friend to my first show in 2012. And I remember that the scene was so small, like so small. We could literally fit in that abandoned gym. And I just thought, wow, like there's so many people here, right? And I was like, we all feel the same way. And it's so funny because at that moment that I was feeling like so free, and I was like, wow. And then I was vibing with a lot of people. They started playing Love Comes Again by Tiesto. And so, for me, it's a constant. Tiesto has been a constant in the background. So when I go to, the festivals today, there's so much more energy. There's bigger crowds and bigger stages. We've evolved. Like the whole scene has evolved. The trends itself, like it's so interesting how there's a direct pipeline from being somebody who's into punk shows and rock and metal to like now we have, dubstep. And dubstep in itself is another form of rock. It's just in different sounds. So I just think it's interesting how everybody just kind of evolved from that to that. I would also say that trance has evolved. It went from being super heavily centered in trance to like now we have like progressive trance, electro. House itself has gone from being regular house to like electro house. And definitely techno has not taken a back seat. Techno itself has evolved into like a harder style as well.
Yeah, so I would say like since I'm still kind of a beginner and dabbling into like electronic music, I would say like the artists and genres that I've kind of dabbled more into has been house and a little bit of I don't even know. That's the thing is like I'm still kind of learning terminology and kind of where everybody fits in places.
It's okay. I feel like the terminology has changed for a lot of sounds. So it's not one right way to get it all.
Fair enough. But my favorite artists right now have been Mochak is super cool. I really like I saw Nina Kraviz.
Yeah.
I saw her recently. I will say it was an odd show my first time. I feel like she was maybe having an off day, but I could be incorrect about that. But those two have been really cool. I just went to go see Fortet, which was super fun. That was like I don't even know what kind of show that was. He was playing a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that show was actually really fun because I went in with kind of maybe one song I knew, no expectations, and I had a blast.
Yeah.
I think having a preconceived notion of like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna like this, or I don't think I'm like gonna be into this, kind of ruined. I think maybe that's what kind of messed up my Nina Kraviz show a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went into Fortet, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go. I know one song and it was interesting, so I'm like, it'll be fun. It'll be what it is.
Yes, the experience varies from artist to artist, definitely, and also the crowd. It depends on the energy of the crowd and how much you love it.
Yeah, that's another thing for sure. I feel like the people at Nina were just they were not very energetic. It was very like standing still, which I feel like didn't really contribute to the show.
See, that's how I felt about my second Tiesto show. The energy was definitely not there, and the set list itself was not the best set list I'd heard. So I kind of walked away from that thinking, you know what, I'm going to skip the next Tiesto show if I ever, and I did. I skipped it for EDC 2024, and I had seen a playback of the YouTube video of how he had done, and I was like, he did much better this time around.
You're like, damn, I missed out.
I missed that out, and I missed out on David Guetta. Let me tell you something. If you guys go watch that YouTube one, he popped off.
That's the one to watch?
That's the one to watch.
All right, and do you think that these changes and these trends have impacted the scene, like the rave scene, for the better or for the worse? What would you say?
I feel like as a... Oof, don't come for me. But I think that as a veteran raver... I definitely want to say that there have been some things in the community that I have seen that have impacted me a little bit in not the best way. We definitely do all have to treat each other better. I have had run-ins while trying to protect somebody who was in a wheelchair, and I was asking politely for people to move around her, and a man, was trying to intimidate me. That was one time. Another time I've noticed that sometimes these younger, I don't want to call them kids because I know that they're old enough to understand. So I've noticed that a lot of the younger community, they are coming out to just kind of black out in not the most fun way. And I worry for them. I think that it comes from a place of worry. And just recently, my biggest message is I think we all need to learn a little bit more about Plur and the community itself. And we need to practice those rules. It's not a set of rules. It's peace, love, unity, respect. That's pretty much pretty well known for any human being. But I think it's important to put them in practice when we're in the community, because just recently we did lose a young raver, and her name was Dandy Mandy. She was very loved by her community, and she was a community activist. She cared about them. She cared about the kids she worked with and the programs that she worked for in high school and stuff. And due to the violence that happened, we need to be able to practice Plur and measure ourselves and take care of each other, because that should not have happened.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't just extend to the rave scene. I mean, that could be taken in any literally any sense, anywhere you go, any situation you're in. I think that should be the practice you have, because it's at the end of the day, if you're not respecting other folks, they're not going to respect you. And respect isn't something you should do just because you want somebody to respect you. It's just that's how you should treat people, because it's why would you treat anybody with disrespect? It's it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Respect is given and earned on both sides.
Exactly.
And definitely, on that note, I would like to say shout out to her family for, dealing with this kind of stress, and I'm very sorry for their loss, but rest in peace to that sweet young girl.
Rest in peace. All right, I have two more questions for you. So we know that music has the power to bridge different cultures together. We've seen it through K-pop, reggaeton, house music. How would you say are other ways that music can bring positive changes to the world that we're living in?
Definitely this has to do with the celebrities, DJs, icons. You have a platform. We have that platform to make a change, to always stand up for what's right. And definitely, if we see these genres merging into each other, working with each other, I definitely never thought that at some point I would see K-pop merge with reggaeton or something like that. And it's so exciting to see that. And I would just love for everyone to just be the best role models and have the right messages in your songs. It's so inspiring to see when we work together as one.
All right, so thank you. That was very insightful. I have one last bonus, kind of fun question. I think you kind of touched on it, but I want to ask, what has been the most fun experience that music has given to you?
The most fun experience is getting to hear my own music playback. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if that's the answer we were going for, but it's so inspiring to me when I work so hard on something and then I push play and it goes exactly where I want it to go.
No, I know the feeling. I mean, I heard your stuff in class. I heard some things you sent me over. You've been listening to it under this interview. It's really good. And it's a really rewarding feeling when you're like, okay, this is kind of the vibe I want to go for. This is the music I want to play. And you, like you said, like you hit play and it sounds good. And you're like, damn, I did that.
Yep.
That's a really rewarding thing.
Shout out to Hatsune Miko. Girl, you and I popped off on my little collab.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Bianca, I want to really thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you so much for talking to me about your experience, about what you think, and about the future of music. Where can people find you? Social media, music? What can people expect from you?
Ooh, under TikTok, you can see some of my small content. I'm not like super big. On Instagram, the same names as Black Coffee. I am expanding. I am learning. Give me a year.
Take your time. Take your time.
I'll make it out one day.
Well, thank you so much. Everybody give a round of applause for Bianca.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye.